Okay, so I'm recording somewhere new. This is a location that has been cut off from me here recently, until most recently. And it's mainly been because he's been on the lease this entire time, even though he hasn't been here for over a week. And it's my old room. So, couple things. Let me just clarify. He is not on the lease. I contacted my landlord after we had court today, and they have removed him from the lease, which means that this is no longer his room. He no longer has any legal right to the room. So the judge found that because I didn't own the home, I had no legal rights to have him evicted. And the judge dismissed the request for eviction. So what I did was I went up to my landlord and I talked to her. And she asked me, she said, "Amanda, do you have a copy of the restraining orders?" I was like, "Yeah, I got them right out in the car." And she said, "Okay, bring them here. We'll make a copy. We'll put them on the file, and we will have him removed from the lease. He won't be evicted, but he will no longer be on the lease and no longer have legal right to the home." And I asked her, I said, "Does that mean that I can be able to, sleep in the master bedroom?" She goes, "Well, once we get him removed from the lease, you can sleep wherever you want to." She was like, "You can sleep in the kitchen if you want to. The house is yours." She's like, "But we'll have him removed from the lease, as well as his new girlfriend, Lorna." So I went out to my car, and I gave her the restraining orders, and she put them on the file. And then 30 minutes later, she's like, "Okay, so now all you have to do is just change the locks to the house, and you'll be good to go." And I was like, "Sweet." And so I called a locksmith, and I have a locksmith coming to the house to change the locks. And I called like 3 or 4 different ones. The one I wound up choosing to go with is the only one that was actually honest with me as far as giving me information that I did not already have. So what he did was he said, "Amanda, I just want to give you a heads up while you're calling around to price how much it's going to cost you to change your locks. There are scammers out there. There are locksmiths that contract out to third-party locksmiths, and they'll quote you a starting price, and then they'll come out there and they'll do the work and then pound you for separate costs of labor, separate costs of this, and separate costs of that, and they'll really cake on the extra charges until you wind up paying way more than what it actually would be for you to change the locks." And I was like, nobody else thought to warn me about that. And nobody else told me that that was a possibility. And I told the guy that since he was going above and beyond, and making sure that I was fully informed and I was fully aware of what all could happen, then he was the one I was going to go with. And so I made an appointment for the locksmith to come out here. I do have enough money to be able to pay him, thankfully. Neighbors are coming out with their dog. I'm going to move the camera a little bit, give them their privacy. So, yeah, that's my backyard. And that's the screen to the right, to the window. But anyways, And this is my backyard, and I know it's a mess. I have to get out there and pick the weeds, but it's a pretty decent backyard. I do find the patterns, like these things, the patterns here on the rocks kind of strange, because it's almost like whoever lived here before had a pool, and then the landlord just filled it up with rocks, but left the bricklaying. So it is kind of strange. And it's just their dog, so we don't have to worry about that. Because that looks like it might be for like outdoor furniture, and a little path that leads from the backyard to that thing. I mean, it looks like it might have been a pool back here, but I don't know. It's kind of a strange sense of wonderment. Anyways, so that part did not go exactly as I was hoping for, which is disappointing. But I'm one of the ones that is like, let's focus on the bad first and then we'll focus on the good. So the next bit of bad news that happened, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of bad news, kind of good news. So Lorna had called me, and I didn't say anything to her, but she asked me to listen. And so I listened, and she told me that she did not want to file a restraining order against me, and that she just wanted the eviction process to be stopped, and a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't make much sense. I did go over it in a video previously. I think it was like the day it happened or the day after it happened, either one of those two. But anyways, so if you want to know what was said by her, then just, go find the video and listen to it. But anyways, so I thought it was really strange because I was halfway expecting her when the judge was, brought up the restraining order that she tried to tabulate. I was kind of halfway expecting her to, tell the judge that she did not want the restraining order. Instead, what she told the judge was that she did not remember what she had put in the restraining order, which was not a good thing. Considering that, if you're going to make allegations of domestic violence, then you need to be aware of what you're alleging, at least. The very least, be aware of what you're alleging. But she said that she didn't remember what she had put in there, and she said the only instance that she could think of was the time that she had a black eye. And she said that I had given her the black eye by pushing her off of the stool in the bathroom. The judge then asked for my testimony, and I told the judge that I remembered that incident. She had had issues with her sugar levels all day that day, and unbeknownst to me, she had taken 2 NyQuil, as well as her insulin. I told the judge that I was using the bathroom and I heard a loud thump, and then I heard Dave snoring, and so I knew it wasn't him, and I went to go check on her and found her basically halfway naked with her tail end up in the air. And she had basically fallen off the toilet. I told the judge that I was concerned because I had heard that if your sugar levels drop too much, it can cause you to go into a diabetic coma, so I tried to rouse her. I told him that she was extremely groggy and loopy, and she had admitted to me that she had taken 2 NyQuil, and that she was tired from the NyQuil, and I tried to help her with getting back to bed, and she said that she did not want to go to bed with Dave because she didn't want to wake him up, and then so she wound up spending that night with me in my room. The judge asked her, if she had any questions. She's like, well, I can't really hear what she said. And the judge was like, why didn't you tell me that before? And she's like, well, I can hear her talking, but I can't hear the words that she's saying. And the judge was like, that doesn't make any sense. I've never had any issues with anyone else having these issues about hearing, the other party when they're here in the court. We can try having her move the microphone closer and she can give her testimony again. And so he had me start, and then he stopped me, like, very first one or two sentences. And he's like, do you hear her? And she's like, again, I can hear her talking, but I can't hear what she's saying. So the judge was like, okay, so we're going to dismiss the restraining order against, Amanda, because the court finds that you've not provided enough proof to your allegations that there was domestic violence. And Amanda has proven that the one instance that you talked to us about is one in which she was acting in a caring manner, and concerned over your safety. So we're denying the request for you to have a restraining order against her. So, it was kind of bad because, again, Lorna lied. But, go figure. She's nothing but a liar. Is what she's been doing since day one. But it did wind up being a good thing because the judge dismissed the restraining order against me, which I was concerned would be approved, and then that would negate my restraining order against her. The judge did tell Lorna that I do have a restraining order against her, and that I do have the ability to have her served no matter where she goes. And then he looked at me and he goes, and I trust that you will be doing every means possible to make sure that's enforced. And I said, yes, sir, I am. He said he did tell her that if she does go back to the property, that I do have the right to call the police and have her served and removed from the property. And Lorna stated that she understood. And that was the end of that. And then Dave spoke up and said that he wanted to have the restraining order quashed. And the judge, looked at me and he's like, well, Amanda, do you have the needed documentations to be able to handle this today? And I told him, no, sir, I was expecting just the eviction and the restraining order against me. I wasn't expecting having to, basically support the restraining order against Dave. And he goes, okay, well, then we're going to schedule this out for next week. He's like, Amanda, at this point, that means that you'll have the burden of proof against Dave. You'll have to submit that burden of proof, and you'll need to submit it 3 copies if you have documentation. He's like, one for me, one for him, and one for yourself. And I'm like, okay. So what I've been doing, aside from meeting with the landlord and scheduling a locksmith and changing the Wi-Fi password and paying my bills, which was just like, oh my gosh. What I've been doing is I've been looking through my backup accounts, because everything I have, I save to at least 2 to 3 backup accounts. And even though Dave made me do a factory reset, which erased everything, all the text messages that he and I had prior to my attempted suicide, I do have screenshots of those text messages. And I just have to figure out which backup account I sent those to. Because like I said, I've got like 2 to 3 backup accounts. So I just have to find them and then print them out and get it done before next week when we go back to court. And I know he's probably going to try to use the letter that he forced me to write and send to his email. He made me write a letter, an email, in which I stated that any bruises or marks that are left on me would be considered evidence as an active lifestyle for an active sexual lifestyle, and that I enjoyed those behaviors, and that anything short of concussion or broken bones would not be considered abuse. So I do know he has that letter, which he made me write and send to his email, or type up and send to his email. So I know he has that. And I know that he'll probably use that letter. It seems like he also has like text messages and stuff like that as well. I mean, he had a whole bunch of paperwork, and I don't even know where he got those papers from. I don't know what's on them. I don't know how I'm going to combat them, but I'm going to do my damnedest, because this guy used fear and intimidation and coercion and threats and physical violence against me to make me complacent and compliant to his whims. And I'm sorry, but you know, the bitch is back. And the bitch don't take that. So I'm going to do what I can to make things as smooth as possible. I'm going to look and see if I can find those text messages to prove my allegations. And I'm going to try. I'm going to try my best. I also have the CPS papers where they have so far substantiated sexual misconduct between Dave and my daughter, through her own testimony. And I know I can't bring CPS into it, nor can I request that my daughter be released from the group home in order to testify, because of the quarantine mainly. But I do have the petition that CPS submitted for temporary custody of my kids until October. And that petition does list that they have substantiated that that sexual assault by Dave towards my daughter. So I have that. And that's probably going to carry a lot more weight than like text messages and things like that I might be able to find. So I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that the restraining order stays in place. I'm going to find whatever documents I can locate on my backup files, to make sure that the restraining order stays in place and my kids stay protected, because the last thing I need is to fail, not only as a parent in protecting my children, but also to fail to maintain that security. So I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm a mom. And if that means I have to, go through all 3 backups and locate that documentation, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm also probably going to call my mother in as a witness. Because my mother was there for almost a year. No, a little bit over a year. She was there for a little bit over a year and saw a lot of things going on. Speaking of my mother actually did something really clever that I did not think she knew about. So for me, the quickest way to get me to stop panicking and to focus on what needs to be done is really just to piss me off. Push my buttons, get me angry, make my mind go from I can't do this to fuck you, I'm going to, and watch me prove you wrong, is the best way to get me to focus and stop panicking. And I was panicking really hardcore this morning. I was doing everything I could to help boost my own self-confidence, to build up my courage, so to speak. I took a shower, I did my hair, I put on makeup, not necessarily in that order, because I did actually do a face mask to clean my face before I did my makeup. But I did my makeup. I had my outfit picked out. I was going to do like a white dress with a gray overcoat. But then I changed my mind and I was like, I'm going into court. It would be so much better if I just dressed sedately. So instead of doing the white dress, I did the black dress. And since my daughter and I wear the same size shoes, I borrowed a pair of her sandals because I only have tennis shoes. So I borrowed a pair of her sandals to wear to court, and it was her. I mean, she has nice sandals, guys. I mean, I'm not gonna buy my kids crap, but so. So I borrowed a pair of her sandals, and I wore my black dress, and I went to court. But while I was getting ready, I was like, Mom, I'm going to go do this. Got to, do a couple things before I go into court. So I'm going to leave early. And I told her that I was, nervous and worried and scared. And she immediately just started pushing my buttons. She was like, you're not the person I thought you were. The old you would never have stood up for this, would never let him threaten you. Do you think the D&D game and his role in the D&D game is the reason why you did this? Well, psychiatrists say this and this and this. And I mean, she just really, every single thing that would get me insta-pissed, she pushed those buttons and she pushed them hard and she did not let up. I mean, it got so bad that I was like, Mom, one more text message from you and I am blocking you and not talking to you until I've calmed down. And I was cursing at her and she was like, okay, good. Now use that anger and show him why he should never have crossed your path and hurt your kids. And as soon as she said that, I was like, ... You mean to tell me you did all of this just to make me angry? And she goes, it worked, didn't it? You're angry. You're focused. You're not, panicking anymore. It worked, right? And I'm like, I want to slap you so bad and I hate you. And I can't believe you did this because it was like the one thing that I actually needed. Because everybody was like, you've got this, you can do this. You're a strong woman. All the supportive things, but none of them was doing the one thing that I actually needed, the one thing that I didn't know that I needed, which was, push my buttons and get me to the point where I was pissed off enough to, actually stop panicking. And so my mom really saved my bacon this morning because I would have been panicked and I would have been thinking with my lonely heart, so to speak, because part of me still finds him attractive and appealing, and part of me still loves him to death, and part of me wishes that if he had been a different person, then he and I could have made a go at it and could have been happy. And part of me, wished that her telling me that he was crushed and devastated was actually true. And that he was crushed and lost and devastated without me and the kids. But I needed to be pissed off because if he actually had loved us, then he would never have hurt us. And if we actually mattered to him, then he would never have touched my daughter. He would have never threatened me. He would have never made me feel hopeless and unwanted and unneeded. And I know that. But with the way I was feeling this morning, the panic and the feeling like I was lost, that feeling would have made me stare at him with cow eyes, I guess you could say, and want to drink him in and look at him and talk to him and hear his voice. But I was pissed off when I went into court. I didn't want to hear anything he had to say. I didn't want to look at him. I didn't want him looking at me. I didn't want to be around him. And that's what I needed. And my mom gave it to me. So, as much as I sometimes hate my mom, as much as she pisses me off and makes me want to wring her neck, I guess my mom does know me. And she does look out for me. And she knows exactly what it's going to take to make me that laser-focused bitch that I need to be for this. On further note, so it turns out that Saturday when I was getting my car and I was talking to the social worker, who had seen the kids and talked to them, that the social worker I talked to was actually an after-hours social worker. She was not related to the case, involving my kids. I talked to my case manager and I told her that I had put up an advertisement for a roommate, and I told her that I used the verbiage that the after-hours worker had told me. She asked me for a link to the ad, so I gave her the link. She asked me for the email addresses to the kids' teachers, and I gave her the ones that I had, and I told her that the ones that I didn't have, I do communicate with through ClassDojo, which is a common app out here. I think it's a common app everywhere these days. So I messaged the remaining teachers through ClassDojo and gave them the case manager's email address and told them that any information in regards to the kids' education needs to be sent to her. Matthew's teacher immediately was responsive to me. She was like, why do we need to do this? What's going on? And so I explained the situation to her, and she was like, well, she goes, I can understand where you're coming from. She's like, but in cases of domestic violence and cases where the child has been abused the way you're describing Sophia has been abused, you made the right decision in getting CPS involved and making sure that the kids are placed in a safe place. We will help you in making sure that you remain compliant with what social services is wanting you to do. We'll communicate with them, and we'll also communicate with you. And we will make sure that, you have our full support and keep getting the kids back. And it was a good conversation between me and Matthew's teacher. But it was encouraging to me that instead of just saying, oh, okay, and then moving along, every single one of the teachers that I contacted and said, hey, this is what needs to be done, every single one of them was immediately wanting to make sure that I was okay and that the kids were okay. And they each expressed their support in me getting my kids back. One even actually told me that I'm the most invested parent they've ever met when it comes to my kids' education and making sure that they have the best that they can have. So I was happy that I had the school system support. But I sent going back to the case manager, I sent her the link to the advertisement, and I told her that I had someone who responded, who was interested. They sent me a private message, and I was going over the information that I needed, and the case manager was like, well, our vetting process is a little bit more in-depth than just a fingerprint level background check and a criminal background. And I was like, well, this is the person's information. This is what I've got so far. I do not want them paying all this money to move in, and then I tell them that they can't because you don't approve them. Because at first she was like, when they move in with you, then you can give us the information and we will vet them. And I'm like, no, I don't want them to be paying all this money to move in, and these fees are non-refundable. And then I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry, but CPS says you can't move in. I want it to be, hey, I've got the green light. We're good all over. CPS has vetted you. You're good to go. You got the money. Great. Let's get you in. So she said, okay. And social worker's like, I understand where you're coming from. And, it's very responsible of you and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm changing a little bit because these neighbors are not outside and they don't have their inside lights on. So you can't really see anything over there. But, so she goes, I will contact the supervisor. And she's like, I'll contact my supervisor and I'll see if we can be able to approve someone who's not a family member to move in. And I said, well, I hope you guys do, because I don't have family that can move in. And the only thing I have is to request a stranger, basically, to move in with me. And she goes, I understand. And she actually thanked me for doing everything I could to make sure that I meet the safety plans requirements. And I told her, I said, my end goal is to get my kids back. And if that means I have to jump through whatever hoops you put in front of me, then I will jump. And I will do everything in my power. I said, as long as you can work with me and help me make sure that I can be able to get my kids back, then I'll do whatever it takes. And she's like, well, Amanda, I will definitely let you know tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And then I told her, I said, just remember, if you call me and I don't answer, it's because I'm at work. And she goes, no problem. We've already got your work schedule written down. We can be able to do that. Then I got a phone call from my advocate. And she said that the group home that the kids are currently at has requested that the video visitation occurs on Wednesdays. So she asked me if I was free on Wednesday at 10:30 in the morning, and I was like, no, I can't do it was 11 o'clock. She's like, can you do it at 11? I was like, no, I can't. I'm working until 1, and I can't take the time off work to be able to do a video chat. So she said, okay. She goes, well, the only days we can do this is on Wednesday. And I was like, well, I can do it after 1 if they have any spots available. So we worked out the deets, and I am going to be able to see the kids on Wednesday. It'll be after I get off work. So, yay! I'm excited. I'll be finally able to see my kids after not seeing them for almost a week, not hearing their voices. I told the advocate that George's birthday is next month, and I want to see her for her birthday. I told her that I'd never missed a birthday, and I told her that I wanted to be able to buy her a present and wish her a happy birthday. And she asked me what day in specific it was, and I told her. She goes, well, let's see what this quarantine does, see how that works. And since we've got a couple weeks, we'll try to work out something with the group home so you can be able to have a special video chat with your daughter. She goes, you might not be able to get her a gift, but at least you'll be able to see her on her birthday. So I guess that's something. This is going to be the first Mother's Day that I don't have my kids. It's going to be their first birthdays. At least the girl's first birthday that I'm not there. Sophia's going to be 15. She's going to be 1 year closer to 16. I've never missed a birthday. I've never missed a holiday. And all I can think about is all the stuff that I'm going to miss until I can get this taken care of. And it hurts so bad. I know it needs to be done, but it still hurts. So, there's that. But, if this person who replied to my advertisement, gets approved, the master bedroom's not going to be mine. Because I told her that I was going to let her have it. And I told her that it was going to come furnished. I told her that we could work out, whether she wants the upstairs living room or the downstairs living room. And we could work out, those kind of arrangements and stuff. And she was telling me that, she'd have to take a look at the finances. But she believes that what I'm asking for as far as rent goes is reasonable for what she'll be getting, because I told her that I was asking for $900 a month. She'll get, it covers groceries, it covers electricity, water, sewage, trash. I told her that it covers Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime. And I told her that if she wanted a pet, that would be fine, but it would be a $50 pet fee. And I told her that the application fee is $50. I told her that she will have to be vetted by CPS because of some domestic violence situations that have been going on, and the kids have been put in CPS custody until I can be able to get things secured. I told her that the rent covers everything. If she wants cable, she'd have to pay for it herself. But she'd be given access to the Netflix, the Hulu, and the Amazon. She'd also be given access to the internet. And of course, she'd have free reign of the house. And she said that for what she'll be getting, it seems like it would be worth it. And she said that she would have to talk over with her parents, because she does still currently live with her parents. But she's over the age of 18. She has 10 plus years of childcare and nanny experience. She's never been convicted of a crime and never had any CPS cases against her. So she seems like she might be actually a good fit. And she asked me for pictures, so I was like, oh, hold on a second. I kind of stored in my Google account. Let me go and find them. And then I wound up actually taking new pictures because I couldn't find them. I was like, okay, so ignore the mess, ignore the dog. This is, this is the house. I said, this is going to be your room. It's the master bedroom. You'll have the master bedroom, your private closet, your private bathroom. And this is, the kids and I will be down here in this area. And I told her that, I sent her pictures of the upstairs living room, and then I went downstairs and showed her the pictures of the staircase. I told her that the front living room would be cleared out because Dave's friend is going to be moving out. And that area will be open. If she has anything she wants to put in there, she, more than welcome to do so. I showed her the gaming room and the back living room, the one that faces the backyard, the kitchen, pantry, backyard, and I told her, I said, this is the house. And I was like, please excuse the mess, excuse the dog. Still trying to get things cleared up and get things moved around because of people moving out. And she goes, well, do you have any rules of the house that you want me to abide by? And I explained to her that my main rule is, if the kids don't listen, let me know, because I don't want, their disrespect to cause a rift. And if she has anybody, and I told her, I was like, I know that my kids are going to be dating, and when I get over the hurt that I've been enduring, I'd probably start dating. And so, I asked her, I told her, I said, the only thing I ask is that, if you do start dating, don't be too loud. I told her that my previous roommate used to scream her head off and made everybody in the house uncomfortable. And it seemed like she was always constantly, falling in love with a new guy. And I don't want my home to turn it into a bordello. And she was like, oh no, I completely understand that. She's like, I definitely respect someone who asks for, courtesy to be given to them. And she's like, if I ever have anyone over, I will definitely let you know. I'm like, okay. And I told her that the kids, were sweet and loving, and that we'd love for her to move in. And she's like, okay, well, if, she's like, let's aim for June 1st. And if you have the kids back by then, I'd love to be able to meet you guys. If not, that's fine. We can meet one-on-one. And I'd be more than happy to move in and help you with getting your kids back. So, yay, I might have someone if I get, the approval from CPS. And I'm really hoping that they will approve it, because I don't have any other options, since I don't have any family that can be able to move in. I did talk to my attorney. I told him that I was really upset at the fact that CPS had reached out to my extended family, because my extended family are in support of my ex-husband, and I don't need them going to him and telling him that he needs to petition for custody when he is just as bad, if not worse, than Dave was. And the attorney said, okay, well, he's like, we'll make sure that your information is protected and the kids' information is protected. He's like, it is typical for CPS to reach out to family to see if there can be some type of kinship placement. But I do understand where you're coming from, where the kids don't know your family because you're estranged. And he's like, we will make sure that this is addressed in court on Monday. So hopefully that will help out a little bit. So this is turning into a mini movie. The sun's going down. I don't know if you guys can tell that it's getting darker, but it is definitely getting darker. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up for you. And I'm going to wash my makeup off from today, because I have yet to do that. And since I took a shower this morning, and if I take a shower twice in one day, it really dries my hair out and turns it into a lion's mane. So I'm going to probably take a shower tomorrow. But I'm at least going to wash this makeup off. So, all right, I will talk at you guys tomorrow. And feel free to share these videos, guys. Like, I want my story to be heard. I want anyone else who might be going through this to know that they're not alone. And even if you don't know someone who's going through this, if you share the videos, then someone else may know someone who's going through this. So, I'm still crying. Sorry, I'm still crying. If you know anybody, or even if you don't know anybody, just feel free to share these videos. Like I said, I just want my story out there, and I want people to know that they're not alone if they're going through this too. And you guys have a wonderful night. All right.